A barefoot girl in a ruined wedding dress, sitting on the cold street like time had forgotten her. Behind the lens was Liam, a burned-out photographer. What he captured wasn't just a photo, it was a wound. Her name was Celeste, and her story cracked the internet open, but it was the voice of a homeless black woman named Joy that exposed the system behind it all. This isn't just a story, it's a reckoning. If this moved you, hit like, subscribe, and share it, because some truths need to be seen to be believed. It was the blue hour, the moment between dusk and night when the city holds its breath, and the streets of downtown Los Angeles shimmered with the melancholy of wet asphalt and the flickering indecision of neon signs. Liam Ferris adjusted the lens on his battered Leica, chasing the light that no longer reached the corners of this forgotten district. He was deep in Skid Row, not for a shoot, but for something he couldn't name. Maybe guilt. Maybe curiosity. Maybe just the kind of hunger that turns photographers into liars and saints in the same breath. He'd been famous once. Shot models on Grecian cliffs, pop stars against Tokyo skylines. But that had been before everything cracked. Before the divorce. Before the silence in his apartment started sounding like his own voice. So now he wandered. Shot things no one paid him to shoot. Stories no one asked him to tell. It was just then, in the drizzle and the smell of urine and fire from a nearby barrel, that he saw her. A girl. Sitting on the curb, barefoot. Her hair was tangled with city dirt, lips cracked, mascara like ink bleeding into paper. But what stopped him, what truly seized his gut, was the dress. A wedding dress. Ivory silk now clung to her like a ghost. It was torn, soaked, the lace sleeves falling from her shoulders like unraveling promises. She didn't move. Just sat there, staring straight ahead, eyes dry but distant, as if she were watching something only she could see. Liam lifted the camera, almost on instinct, then hesitated. It felt wrong. Predatory. But the moment was too precise, too heavy with something holy and broken. He clicked the shutter. She turned slowly, as if the sound had traveled to her from another life. Their eyes met. Hers were pale green, lit not by hope but by a quiet defiance. "Don't," she said, her voice barely a breath, not angry, not begging. Just, tired. Liam lowered the camera. "I'm sorry," he said. She looked back at the street. A bus passed, lighting her face in fleeting gold. "You gonna sell it? Make a few bucks off the crazy girl in the dress?" "No," he said. "I just saw you." Silence again. Then she stood, slowly, like her limbs were remembering gravity. The dress whispered against the pavement. "Come on," she said. "If you're gonna watch, you might as well walk with me." And just like that, she turned and started down the block, not checking if he followed. Liam did. Half out of guilt, half out of a pulse beating in his throat he hadn't felt since before the galleries stopped calling. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. Then, "Celeste. That your real name? Is yours?" They walked. Past graffiti that had outlived the buildings they clung to. Past men curled beneath trash bags, past a woman screaming into the wind. Then she ducked into an alley, climbed a rusted fire escape like she'd done it 100 times, and disappeared into the upper floor of an abandoned loft. Inside, the city vanished. There were candles everywhere, melted to the floor, their wax like teardrops. A mattress in the corner. A cracked mirror. A child's music box playing something distant and broken. Celeste stood by the window, looking out. Liam said nothing. The silence here wasn't heavy. It was careful. "This was gonna be my honeymoon," she said finally. Liam raised an eyebrow. "This building?" "No," she smiled, small and crooked. "Not exactly. But it's what's left." He didn't press. Just waited. She sank to the floor, pulled the dress tighter around herself. His name was Jonah. He was a barista. Not rich. Not glamorous. But he made me laugh like nobody else ever could. He had this habit of talking to flowers. Not people. Just flowers. Said they had less bullshit in them. Her voice trembled, but not from fear. We were gonna run. Vegas wedding. Cheap motel. Start over somewhere small. Oregon maybe. I told my mom. She screamed. Told me I was trash, marrying trash. Said I'd end up barefoot and crying in the street. She looked down at her feet. Guess she was right. Liam felt something clench behind his ribs. What happened? Celeste didn't look at him. He didn't show. 3 words. So simple. So final. Morning of, I waited at the diner where we met. Had the dress in a bag. I waited 7 hours. Her hands twisted the hem of the dress. They said it was fentanyl. That he bought something cheap to take the edge off the nerves. Something to sleep. Didn't wake up. Liam sat down slowly, like he might break something in the air. I'm sorry, he said, but the words felt hollow, clumsy in the cathedral of her pain. Don't be, she whispered. He didn't mean to leave. He just vanished. Like everything good does. She looked up suddenly, eyes sharp. You still got that camera? He nodded. She stood. Then take the damn picture. This is the truth. No filters. No stories. No likes. She stepped into the light from the window. The dress glowed faintly, like moonlight on water. Her face was something between a bride and a widow, something sacred and ruined. Liam lifted the camera again, and this time, he didn't feel like a thief. This time, he felt like a witness. The shutter clicked. She didn't flinch. Then she turned, and for a moment, Liam thought he saw Jonah. Just a flicker. A shadow. A boy at the edge of the room, smiling at her. Then it was gone. Celeste walked back toward the mattress, sat down. Her fingers toyed with the broken music box. You ever been in love, Liam? She asked without looking up. He swallowed. Once. What happened? I blinked. The silence that followed was long. Heavy. But not uncomfortable. The kind that only exists between people who've both lost something they never fully held. Celeste curled up on the mattress. You can sleep here, she said, eyes already closing. Just don't touch the candles. They're for him. Liam sat, watching her breathe. Listening to the rain begin again outside. Somewhere in the dark, a siren wailed, distant and low. He didn't take another photo. Not that night. Some moments don't belong to memory. They belong to grace. By morning, the rain had stopped but left behind a sky the color of old bruises. Liam stood at the edge of the loft, watching the sun fail to pierce through the clouded glass. Below, the city stretched wide and indifferent, the cars like blood cells in a sick body. Celeste was still asleep, limbs tangled in the folds of the ruined dress, her breath shallow, rhythmic, like waves that hadn't decided whether to return. Liam turned from the window, jaw tight. Something in him had shifted. The kind of slow, cracking shift tectonic plates make before an earthquake. He couldn't walk away now. Not after that night. Not after her story dug its nails into his chest and left marks. He paced. Thought. Remembered the way she had looked lit by candles and grief. Then he took out his phone. Searched his contacts. Found 2 names he hadn't dialed in over a year, one a gallery curator, the other an old friend who now worked for a gritty human interest outlet that thrived on the kind of raw, uncut truth that made people uncomfortable. He sent them both the photo. Just the one. No caption. No plea. Just the image of a girl in a wedding dress, barefoot, staring at a window like the world had ended on the other side. He added 3 words. You need this. He didn't expect them to respond. But they did. Within hours. The curator texted, * this is art. I'll show it, * the friend called. Who is she? Her name's Celeste, Liam said, voice flat. She's homeless. Her fiancé died. She's not a story, she's a person. Then let's tell it right. They arranged a meeting. Liam left the loft, took photos of where Celeste slept, the stairs she climbed, the streets she walked. But always from a distance. Always with respect. It wasn't about exposure, it was about seeing. He bought her food. Blankets. A battery-powered heater. He didn't push. But she watched. She noticed. One evening, she asked, "Why are you still here?" Liam exhaled, sat down beside her. "Because I'm tired of taking photos of broken things and walking away." Her gaze lingered on him longer than usual. "They won't care," she whispered. "They'll look at me and say junkie, whore, street trash. They'll crop the dress and forget the name. Then we'll remind them," he said. Over and over. The fire that lit in her eyes that moment wasn't hope. Not yet. It was something more primal. A flicker of fight. The next day, Liam arranged a shoot. Not posed. Not glamorized. Just Celeste, walking, sitting, staring into space. In the dress, without it, hair brushed back, hair wild. He showed her each photo before he posted anything. She picked the ones that hurt the most. "People believe pain more than smiles," she said. The images went up under an anonymous series titled The Bride of Skid Row. Within 3 days, the internet erupted. Comments flooded in. Sympathy, yes, but also rage. Cruelty. Accusations. "She's faking it. Where's the proof he died? Bet she sold the ring for meth." But Liam didn't let it stop. He released audio. Snippets of her story, recorded when she didn't know he was listening. Not to exploit, but to protect the truth from distortion. Celeste didn't stop him. She didn't like it. But she didn't stop him. Then came the lawyers. A faceless email, subject line, "Misuse of likeness/legal warning." The photo had gone viral. A brand, Lux Bridal, an upscale wedding chain, had recognized the dress. Turns out it had been donated to a women's shelter. She stole it, the email said. She has no right to wear it, let alone be photographed in it. Remove all content or face legal action. Liam stared at the screen, his blood turning cold. He called Celeste. Showed her the email. Her face didn't flinch. "They want it back," she said, staring at the floor. "They can have it. Tell them to come rip it off my corpse." He grabbed his coat. Stormed into the office of the shelter that had received the donation. Demanded to speak with the director. A tired woman with kind eyes and the patience of saints. She confirmed it. The dress had been given away. No ID required. First come, first serve. "And yes," she said, "Celeste took it. She was shaking, barefoot. I remember thinking she looked like she needed it more than anyone else." Liam leaned forward. "They're threatening her. For being seen." The woman's eyes hardened. "Then let them come after me, too." The story spread. Now with names. Now with dates. Now with weight. But the more it grew, the more it hunted. Someone posted Jonah's record. Petty theft. A past stint in county jail. Suddenly the narrative turned. She loved a criminal. It was probably a drug OD. Romanticizing trash. Liam fought back. Released Jonah's last note. A photo of the two of them from a cracked flip phone. A letter Celeste had written but never sent, found beneath the mattress. The world was watching. But the heat was rising. The police began sweeping the area, clearing encampments for safety. Celeste was almost arrested one night when she refused to move. Liam bailed her out. She didn't thank him. She just said, "It's not yours to fix." And he said, "It's not. But I'm not leaving, either." She stared at him then, eyes wild with something between gratitude and fury. Then you better be ready to bleed for this. The final conflict wasn't clear yet. But Liam could feel it coming. Like thunder before a storm. Legal threats. Public backlash. Celeste's health was failing, coughing more, eating less, colder even under blankets. She wouldn't go to a hospital. Too many ghosts in white coats, she said. He was running out of time. Running out of air. And still, that photo haunted people. The way she looked. The way she didn't beg, didn't smile, didn't ask for anything. It began to change things. Quietly. Subtly. A donation fund started. Small at first. Then grew. Then ballooned. Anonymous donors. Comments like confessions. This was my sister. This was me 10 years ago. She matters. But Celeste didn't want the money. I want the truth. I want them to see what they do to us and not look away. The city issued a cease and desist. Claimed the location of the loft was unfit for habitation. Liam knew what it meant. They were coming for the candles. For the mattress. For the only place that still remembered Jonah. And somewhere in the middle of that tightening noose, Liam realized this wasn't a project. It wasn't even about her anymore. It was about them. The ones no one looked at unless it was through a cracked window or a trending hashtag. The ones buried alive in cities that pretended to be alive. And now, they were watching. The world. The law. The ghosts. All of it circling like vultures. He stood at the edge of the loft again, camera heavy in his hands. Celeste sat in the corner, staring at the mirror that never reflected anything back. And Liam knew, something had to give. Soon. Very soon. Or everything would be lost. The eviction came at dawn. No sirens, no shouting, just the dull authority of boots on rusted stairs and the low murmur of city workers who had done this too many times to flinch anymore. Liam had slept sitting up, camera still in his lap, the battery long dead but the weight still familiar. Celeste didn't cry. She stood, gathered the dress in her arms like a fragile animal, and folded it into the bag she'd sewn from old curtains and duct tape. The candles were cold now. She didn't light them. She didn't speak. Just watched as two men in gray uniforms peeled her world apart, peeling paint, broken mirror, mattress sagging with memory. One of them looked at her and hesitated, but only for a second. They weren't cruel. Just indifferent. Which, Liam thought, might be worse. Outside, the street was wet with dew. The sun was rising behind a row of buildings like it didn't care who was watching. A few people had gathered. Not protesters, not press. Just people. Some had seen the photos. Some held phones. One had a bouquet of plastic flowers. Celeste saw them, and her mouth moved like she might say something. Then she didn't. Liam followed her as she walked. No destination. Just movement. Past the diner where she had waited for Jonah, past the mural someone had painted of her face, eyelashes like wings, skin like ash. It wasn't flattering. It was honest. They ended up in a community center where Liam had convinced a non-profit to offer shelter, not because she needed it, but because the story had made her too visible to disappear again. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. She stayed 3 days. On the 4th morning, she was gone. No note. No forwarding path. Just her name signed in Sharpie on the wall above the cot, asterisk Celeste was here star. Liam stood in that empty room longer than he meant to. He didn't search. Not really. She hadn't been a subject. She'd been a mirror. And maybe some people you meet not to keep, but to be changed by. The gallery exhibit opened a month later. They called it Disappearance in 3 acts. Photos of Celeste hung beside recordings of her voice, moments captured in stillness, her walking away, her curled on the mattress, her holding the dress against the light like gauze over an old wound. The final image, one Liam hadn't shown anyone until then, wasn't dramatic. Just her standing in a narrow alley, framed by shadows, her back to the camera, hair lifted slightly by wind, the train of the wedding dress trailing through dust and broken glass like the last movement of something sacred. People cried. Some wrote letters. Some walked out. But no one left unchanged. Liam didn't take another photo for a long time. Not because he couldn't, but because he no longer needed to prove he could see. He started teaching. Inner city kids. Disposable cameras and lined notebooks. He told them to listen first. Then shoot. He still thought of her sometimes. Mostly in moments between moments, the pause before a shutter clicks, the hush of morning before the city forgets itself again. And once, years later, while passing a train station at night, he saw a girl sitting alone on a bench. Barefoot. Not in a wedding dress. Just a worn coat and a paperback pressed to her chest. He didn't stop. Didn't take her photo. Just nodded once as he passed, and in the faintest blink, she nodded back. Or maybe he imagined it. Doesn't matter. Some people leave without doors. They become wind, or rumor, or a flicker in the corner of a photograph long after the subject has vanished. The kind of silence that doesn't demand to be filled. Just remembered.